Under the bright lights of the UFC world, few storylines have exploded into the public consciousness, like the recent tension between Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev. Wasn't just a passing exchange. This was a flashpoint, a moment when two fighters at the pinnacle of their craft collided in the public eye, sparking debates, predictions, and an electric buzz across the MMA community. Joe Rogan, never one to shy away from calling it as he sees it, didn't just acknowledge the moment, he elevated it. To him, this wasn't background noise. This was the makings of the next UFC blockbuster, the kind of fight that could redefine divisions and ignite an era. Topiria, fresh off the most explosive run of his career, had already done what many thought impossible, claiming the lightweight crown in emphatic fashion by knocking out Charles Oliveira at UFC 317, his three-fight streak, including back-to-back wins over Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway, was hailed as one of the greatest in UFC history. His confidence surged, his swagger unshakable. He believed he could put anyone to sleep from featherweight up to welterweight, yet the whispers about his size and physicality lingered. Could he truly stand across from someone as physically imposing as Islam Makhachev and come out victorious? Islam, meanwhile, wasn't waiting quietly in the shadows. Already scheduled to challenge for the welterweight title against Jack Della Maddalena later this year, Makhachev's name remained a constant in discussions about the pound-for-pound elite. His ground game was suffocating, his strength unmatched. Those who had shared the cage with him often left looking not just beaten, but broken. Yet Topuria's rise had put him on the radar in a way that couldn't be ignored. For many fans, it wasn't a matter of if these two had met, it was a matter of when. But this wasn't the only fire burning in the UFC landscape. Elsewhere, Khamzat Chimaev was making noise again, this time with a return to US soil after a long stretch of visa troubles. Stationed in Los Angeles to prepare for his middleweight title clash against Dricus Du Plessis at UFC 319, Chimaev wasted no time stirring the pot. His target, Sean Strickland? In true Chimaev fashion, the call-out was blunt and personal, he accused Strickland of hiding behind words when Chimaev was overseas and daring him to settle it. It's face-to-face now that they were in the same country. The tension had a raw, street-level edge to it, the kind of bad blood that doesn't need promotional hype to sell. Strickland, serving a suspension from the Nevada State Athletic Commission, couldn't officially fight, but that didn't stop speculation. Fans imagined an unsanctioned showdown, a confrontation in a gym parking lot, anything to see the hostility boil over. Whether it happened soon or simmered for later, one thing was certain: if Chimaev walked out of Chicago with gold around his waist, Strickland might be waiting in line to take a shot. While the wars of words dominated headlines, Dustin Poirier was quietly reminding the world that his fight spirit extended far beyond the octagon. Back home in Lafayette, Louisiana, Poirier and his Good Fight Foundation hosted their 5th annual Backtaskle Backpack Giveaway, distributing over 1,000 backpacks loaded with supplies to local students. Smiling for photos, shaking hands, and handing out gear himself. Poirier's presence was a grounding reminder that in a sport fueled by rivalries, there are still champions of character. Retirement talk might swirl around him, but his roots, in his community, remain firm. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Arman Serukian was growing impatient. Once pegged for a title fight before injury derailed his plans, Serukian has been calling out Topiria with increasing intensity. He mocked the champions, reluctance going so far as to say Topuria would rather surrender the belt than face him. In Serukian's eyes, Topuria was chasing easy money fights, names like Paddy Pimblett or Justin Gaethje, sidestepping the hardest road. His taunts were sharp, even playful at times, but the message was unwavering. Ilia, stop running. The lightweight division waited in limbo, and Serukian wasn't about to stay silent. The gravitational pull of a Topuria-Makachev clash only intensified as more voices entered the conversation. Rogan, speaking on his podcast, waved away. The idea that Topuria needed multiple defenses before making such a fight. To him, this was the fight to make now. Meeting of two fighters in their prime, both capable of ending a bout in devastating fashion. Both sitting near the very top of the pound-for-pound rankings. Even Javier Mendez, Makhachev's coach, who, once dismissed Topiria as a serious threat, admitted it would be the biggest fight available for his fighter today. And then there was Chimaev again, planting seeds for yet another high-stakes collision. Speaking from camp, he didn't hide his ambitions: 3 belts, multiple divisions, greatness on his terms. He even floated the idea of fighting Makachev down the road, a champion versus champion bout that could shatter records. The prospect of that fight lit up social media with excitement and skepticism in equal measure. The size difference was a question. The stakes were not. Fans called it a once-in-a-generation matchup, something that could rival the spectacle of McGregor versus Khabib. Speaking of Khabib, the ghost of that rivalry still haunts MMA's corridors. Artem Lobov, longtime teammate of Conor McGregor, recently claimed that under the right circumstances, Khabib could be lured back into the cage. One win, Lobov insisted one clean. Highlight reel knockout from McGregor could spark the greatest rematch in UFC history. He even argued that McGregor hadn't truly trained for their first fight, that the version of Conor who stepped into the cage at UFC 229 wasn't the man who had once ruled the sport. Matt Brown, in contrast, took a harsher stance, saying McGregor's identity as a winner had been stripped away, first by Khabib, then by Dustin Poirier, leaving him a shadow of the fighter he once was. At the top of the middleweight division, Dricus Du Plessis was charting a different course. Unlike champions, who leapfrog into new weight classes at the first opportunity, Du Plessis was committed to cementing his reign before moving on. His upcoming defense against Chimaev would be his third, and he wanted to clean out the division before chasing new challenges. To him, 3 successful defenses was the threshold, the mark of a champion who had truly owned his division. As fight week for UFC 319 draws closer, the threads of these stories seem to be weaving together into a tapestry of rivalries, ambitions, and unanswered questions. Topiria's next move remains unclear. Will it be Serukian, a money fight, or the nuclear option of Makachev? Will Chimaev walk into Chicago's United Center and emerge with the middleweight crown, setting the stage for future super fights? And will the echoes of McGregor-Khabib ever translate into reality, or remain the stuff of MMA mythology? One thing is certain, in the UFC's ever-churning theater, the biggest moments rarely come with warning. They're born in airports, in press scrums, in the space between insults and invitations. They're shaped by ego, by legacy, by the knowledge that one fight can change everything. The stage is set, the players are circling, and the only question left is, who will step forward when the lights hit? Now the question is for Yusha, the UFC fast-track Topiria versus Makachev. Is Chimaev the next pound-for-pound king? And does McGregor have one last run in him to bring Khabib out of retirement? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to ride this wave of MMA drama with us, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next chapter.